Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Munce Report as we preview what's a big weekend of racing for the stable. Trainer Chris Munce is here to give us all the final word on his charges. But before we get into it, mate, I believe there's a bit of news on the babies front. The Magic Millions purchasers have headed into Fenwick Farm this week to start the process of being broken in.
Yeah, hi Adam. Yeah, they have. We've sent a group down there to get broken in. There's been a couple sent up to Jake Capewell at Barham as well to get broken in, and that process usually takes 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the yearling and how quick they adapt to their new life of under saddle and being looked after and trained. And they usually, by the time they've had a small prep there, they come to have a week with us in the stable before going back to the paddock again, just to regroup and clear their head a little bit. So it's an exciting time. They're only babies, obviously, and they pick things up quite quickly, but it's all the beginning of a long learning process.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. And as you mentioned, I guess the first time under saddle, but just to elaborate a bit more for those that may be interested, can you sort of break it down into what is involved in the whole process of breaking in and what that sort of the feedback that you guys then get before they come into the stable?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, the whole breaking process usually takes 3 or 4 weeks. That obviously depends on the nature of the horse and how quickly they adapt to things. But they usually, for the first few days, they get desensitized, as they call it, where they get used to new objects around them and being sort of patted all over with blankets and different things to get them used to the noise and the rush and all that sort of business. Then they'll eventually introduce the bridle and mouth them to make sure the horse has got the right steering gear to be able to stop and start and steer. And then last thing that goes on is the saddle, which they've got to get used to weight on their back and then a rider jumping on top of the saddle. So it's all a really big process for these babies. And once they're all pretty well used to that sort of activity around them, they'll come into the stable and they'll have a week with us here in at the track before they go back to the paddock again, just for 2 to 3 weeks to clear their head and get ready to restart again.
Yeah, very good, interesting stuff. And good news for those that have already got on board with the Capitalist colt that you purchased from the Magic Millions. This horse's stocks have certainly risen after the ultra-impressive win of the Capitalist colt Profiteer in last weekend's $2 million English Millennium. I bet you were clapping your hands, even though it's not your horse, but I guess through association and the fact that you've invested in the stallion, you must have been pretty happy with that.
Oh, my word. And I mean, this Capitalist colt of mine, he's a spitting image of Capitalist, which is always a good sign. You always want to try and buy one that is the stamp of the father. So he's certainly like that. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting him to saddle. The stock down the English Classic sale were through the roof. So I think we bought very well and at the right price. So really looking forward to getting that colt into the stable.
Good stuff. Well, there's still ownership opportunities available in him and also some of the other yearlings. So anyone seeking more information on him or any of the Magic Millions purchases can email admin@munceracing.com.au. All right, well, let's get into the preview, mate. There's lots of acceptors across 3 meetings over the weekend: Doomben Saturday, the Gold Coast Saturday, and the Sunshine Coast on Sunday. The old barrier gods haven't been kind, though, at Doomben. Raw Sheen and Arthur in Charge both drawn out wide, and I believe you may save for another day there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a lot of runners accepted for the weekend, but obviously the barrier gods weren't with us, so we'll probably scratch quite a few. Arthur in Charge and Royal Sheen, they'll wait for another day. I mean, they've got enough speed to get themselves into trouble and be stuck 3 or 4 wide the trip and not be given much chance from those barriers. So for that reason, we'll wait with them. Centre Fire will run. She's drawn lovely in barrier 5, and I think she's a nice filly fresh. She should be able to get the right run just behind the speed, which I do believe suits her better than leading all the time, which she has done previously. So I've seen her trial up very well, ridden just in behind the speed. So I'd expect a similar sort of run on Saturday. And she's certainly at nice each way odds, $21, where she's going to get the right run, and she's certainly a player in the race.
Yeah, okay. And Larry Cassidy was aboard in that recent jump out that you're happy with too.
That's right. So he knows it well. He's ridden her a few times now, Larry. So he'll ride her again on Saturday. And he was very happy with the way she trialled last Tuesday.
Very good. Well, with those other 2 runners coming out, we move over to race 9, where Unguarded is entered here. Didn't favour well with the barriers either, barrier 15. But she's in form, 2 good runs to kick off her preparation and steps up to a track and distance that she won out in Saturday grade last preparation.
My word, I mean, this is a perfect race for her, but she too has drawn Paul, and we're still, the owners and I are still going to have a discussion whether she runs or not, depending on what options are available to her. But she'll get back. The only benefit for her is she's a back marker. She'll be back probably last, second, third last in running, and then she'll just need a bit of luck, probably from the top of the straight on. If they fan and she gets the right breaks from the top of the straight, she'll be rattling home very strongly. She's in very good form, this mare, and she just needs an ounce of luck and she'll be thereabouts.
Very good. Well, that's the Doomben program, short and sweet this week. We then move over to the Gold Coast, where there are 3 acceptors on the program, but a couple of horror draws also. Race 2, an interesting runner here in My Girl Rocks, who lines up in the 2K Thoroughbreds colours for the first time for you, first runner under that banner. And she's, of course, a former Sydney mare who's come to you, and you've been happy with her progress since she's been in the stable.
Yeah, I mean, she's a 4-year-old mare unraced, and she's just a lovely mare to deal with. I mean, it's an honour to be able to train for 2K, and I'd love to be able to kick off on a winning note. I think this mare, she's certainly got a lot of improvement in it, whatever she does on Saturday. But having said that, I do believe she's had enough work to go to the races and be competitive in this type of a race as well. So she'll get the right sort of run, just back off the speed, and I think it'll just come down to race fitness the last 100 metres, whether she wins or whether she gets beat.
Yeah, well, good stuff. Well, exciting to start that new association, and also a reward for the owners who have been in with this girl since the early days. And as you mentioned, she's a 4-year-old mare, so good luck to everyone involved there. We then move over to race 3, where More Than Value drawn 18 in a Colts, Geldings and Entice maiden plate. I gather won't be running there.
No, poor barrier outside gate once again. So no, he'll wait for another day.
And Outback Gladiator, you elected to scratch last week and head towards this weekend. He's a dual acceptor both at the Gold Coast and then Sunshine Coast, where he's drawn more favourably on Sunday.
That's right. So he'll go around on Sunday. The 1400 up there, I think, suits. Even though he's a little bit of time between runs, he's a lightly framed horse and he's pretty clean-winded. So we'll need to go to Clounder on Sunday, where he's going to get the right sort of run. He's a little bit of a back marker. He's not a speed horse, so he'll be, back in the second half of the field. And I would think that if he gets the race run to suit with the right sort of tempo, he'll be closing off quite nicely late.
Very good. Also on the Sunshine Coast program is Malachini, who was another runner that was entered last week, but scratched due to a bad barrier. But he's drawn favourably here in barrier 5.
Yeah, well, this horse is a bit of an improver. He only fared ordinarily at Dolby, but he hit an awkward spot at about the 600 or 700 metre mark and really nearly fell down. So he picked himself up and still managed to beat a few home, which I was pleased to see that. But, he's a horse, he's got to start aiming up a bit. He's a good style of a horse. And I think that big Caloundra track will suit his style of action, his galloping action. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's an improver going into this race on Sunday.
Okay, very good. And the other acceptor for the Sunshine Coast was Heat, which is potentially another 2KT runner over the weekend, but he's drawn poorly in barrier 18 in a 3-year-old maiden handicap over the 1,000 metres.
Yeah, so we'll save Heat for another day. There's plenty of maidens coming up, so he needs a good experience from a good draw first start back from a long break.
All right, mate. Well, that's the wrap up. All the best for the weekend and the horses that have drawn well. Good luck to yourself and Connection.
Good on you, Adam. Thanks, mate.